That internet stuff will never put food on the table, my father said, cracking open a cold beer as the rest of the family laughed. What they didn't know, what they never cared to ask, was that I was about to change all their lives forever. My name is Logan Hale. I'm 31, and for the past 7 years, I've been living alone in a small rented unit above a used bookstore in Bakersfield, California, building a blockchain protocol that no one in my family believed in. Every holiday cookout felt like a rerun. My father, a retired oil rig foreman, would toss out passive-aggressive jabs about me, still chasing dreams on a keyboard. My brother-in-law, Vince, who sold trucks for a living, wore a new Rolex and made sure everyone saw it. They'd all ask when I was going to get a real job, and I'd smile, nod, pretend I didn't hear the condescension in their laughter. But I heard every word. What they didn't see was the 20-hour days, the endless debugging, the financial strain, or the nights I sat alone eating canned beans while trying to solve problems no one else even thought to ask. I wasn't looking for validation anymore. I just wanted to finish what I started. Then one quiet Thursday, an offer landed in my inbox. A tech firm from Berlin had evaluated my project and was ready to make a deal. Not a seed investment, not a maybe. A full acquisition, $28.7 million, plus a 2-year consulting retainer. I stared at the screen for a long time that night. Not because I was unsure, but because I realized no one in my family would ever believe it. They'd never seen the late nights, the obsession, the hunger. All they saw was a man in old jeans who never showed up to Thanksgiving with a +1. So I closed my laptop, and I said nothing. Not yet. Let them laugh a little longer, because what I was about to do next would speak louder than any words ever could. I didn't sign anything right away. Instead, I walked down to the diner on Lincoln Avenue. Same booth, same waitress, same $7.99 meatloaf special I'd ordered since I moved in upstairs. Outside, the world was oblivious. Inside, my hands were shaking. For 7 years, I'd poured my soul into building a system that made decentralized transactions faster, cheaper, and accessible to smaller vendors. People like Mr. Patel, who ran the bodega downstairs. People like me. No board meetings, no layers of middlemen, just trust and code. But now, it was real. The contract sat waiting in my inbox. $28.7 million. A figure so absurd I couldn't say it out loud. Not because I didn't believe it, but because I had no one to say it to. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister Rachel. Dad mentioned Vince's dealership is hiring again. Benefits look decent. You should think about it. I put the phone face down on the Formica table. This wasn't new. Every few months, my family circled back to the same idea, that my stubbornness was just wasted time, that I was chasing shadows online while the rest of them built real lives. Mortgages, promotions, baby showers. What they didn't see were the small victories that had kept me going. The anonymous download from a Ukrainian coder who improved my framework. The midnight feedback loop that fixed a fatal bug just in time for a live test. None of it flashy, all of it essential. After paying my check, I walked back home and opened my laptop. The contract was still there, the cursor blinking beside the signature line. But I hesitated, not because I had doubts about the offer, but because I'd reached the summit, alone. And it didn't feel like a victory if I had to celebrate in silence. I thought of my father's words at the last barbecue. You can't eat digital coins, son. Maybe not, but I could use them to put food on every table in that backyard, and they'd never even know. That night, I signed the deal. The next morning, I set up a private account, rerouted the funds, and called a financial advisor, someone experienced with discretion. Her name was Olivia Mercado, based in Santa Barbara. 40 years old, sharp as glass, and didn't flinch when I explained my goals. No Ferraris? She asked, eyebrows raised. No need, I replied. What do you want then? I want to help, quietly. And that's how it began. The plan wasn't revenge. It wasn't pride. It was something quieter, deeper. I didn't want them to regret not believing in me. I wanted to protect them anyway, because maybe the only real proof of success is what you do when no one's watching. 3 weeks after signing the deal, my life looked exactly the same on the surface. Same apartment above the bookstore, same secondhand coffee maker sputtering each morning, same rusted-out Honda parked on the street. But behind the scenes, everything had changed. With Olivia's help, I created 3 anonymous charitable trusts. Each one had a specific mission, none of them traceable to me. The first was focused on emergency medical support. The second was for family assistance tied to educational needs. The third, more subtle, offered preservation grants for rural landowners on the brink of foreclosure. Each trust had a story behind it. The first check we issued went toward my father's knee surgery, which had been delayed for over a year because insurance wouldn't cover the full cost. He didn't even know the procedure had been scheduled until the hospital called him. Said a new grant had approved funding for retired industrial workers with chronic injuries. Rachel called me the next day. Dad doesn't get it. He keeps saying some miracle must have happened. I played dumb. That's great. Maybe it's his lucky day. 2 days later, Rachel called again, this time in tears. Emma needs braces. Vince just got his commission structure cut in half. We're drowning, Logan. I don't know what to do. I might be able to help, I offered softly, just until you get your footing. Thanks, but Dad wouldn't want us taking money from you. He thinks you're still figuring things out. That hit harder than I expected. Even now, after I'd crossed a finish line they never saw, I was still the screw-up in their eyes, the dreamer who hadn't grown up. I didn't argue, just listened. 2 mornings later, Rachel called again. You won't believe this. Some local foundation just approved a full orthodontic scholarship for Emma. And now Dad says someone paid off the past due taxes on Grandpa's farm. I leaned against the kitchen counter, smiling faintly. Wow, I said. Sounds like your luck's turning around. What I didn't say was that the orthodontic scholarship had been created 2 days earlier, specifically for 7th graders in Emma's school district, or that the preservation grant for the farm was the second disbursement from the third trust. At that point, they started to whisper, Vince especially. It's too many coincidences, Rachel said on our next call. Vince thinks someone's pulling strings. I kept my voice neutral. Well, whoever it is, they've got good timing. And still, I stayed silent, because the goal wasn't applause. It wasn't recognition. It was making sure that the people who had doubted me the most never had to struggle again, even if they never realized why. But the closer I got to helping them, the more I began to feel something unexpected pressing in. A weight, not guilt, loneliness. You see, success in secret feels a lot like silence. And no matter how loud the world gets around you, it's hard not to wonder if the ones you love would love you more. If only they knew who you really were. The phone call came late on a Sunday afternoon. Rachel again. But this time her voice was different, tense, uncertain. Logan, something weird's going on. I paused, bracing. What do you mean? Vince is convinced someone's helping our family, on purpose, anonymously. I said nothing. There are just too many things happening at once. The medical grant, the braces for Emma, the farm taxes, and now Vince just got offered a new job. Better pay, better benefits, out of nowhere. I leaned against the windowsill, staring out at the dusty rooftops of Bakersfield. That's great news, I said flatly. Rachel exhaled. He thinks it's you. I chuckled lightly. Me? With what money? Logan, she said, quiet and direct. You've been different lately, calmer, like someone who doesn't have to worry anymore. I didn't answer, and that silence said more than I meant it to. After the call ended, I sat on the edge of my bed, surrounded by the same old furniture, the same flickering lamp I'd owned since college, and I realized something that scared me more than all the sleepless nights I'd spent building code. I didn't know if I wanted them to know. For years, I'd imagined the moment they'd discover the truth. Maybe I'd show them my bank balance. Maybe I'd fund a massive gift with my name on it, something dramatic, something undeniable. But now, with everything in motion, I found myself afraid. Afraid it might change how they looked at me. Afraid they'd see the money, not the man who earned it. So I scheduled a meeting with Olivia, my financial advisor. We sat across from each other at her office in Santa Barbara, quiet but deliberate. You've done an impressive job maintaining your anonymity, she said, But sustainable giving gets complicated. Patterns form. People start asking questions. I nodded. You have a few options, she continued. You can space out the help further. Create a structured family trust with limited disclosure. Or you can tell them directly. I didn't answer right away. What's holding you back? She asked gently. I looked at my hands. I'm afraid it'll make everything feel transactional, like I'm buying their respect. Olivia tilted her head. Logan, sometimes the gift isn't the money, it's the trust, the invitation to understand who you are. That night, I stayed awake watching the ceiling fans spin above me. And when morning came, I made a decision. If I was going to let anyone in on the truth, anyone at all, it had to be the one person who'd never laughed when I said I had a plan. Rachel. Not because I needed credit, but because I needed someone to remind me I was still a brother, still a son, still me. Rachel was the first person I trusted with the truth. I invited her to meet me at a quiet coffee shop in downtown Bakersfield. She looked nervous the second she walked in. You okay? She asked. You never asked to meet in person. I need you to read something, I said, sliding a manila folder across the table. She opened it and slowly flipped through the documents. Trust agreements, funding records, endowments. This is for Emma? She asked, voice shaking. This is real? I nodded. Fully funded, through her high school and college. No loans, no gaps. She stared at me. Logan, how? I leaned back. Remember that project you all used to call my crypto fantasy? I sold it a few months ago. Rachel blinked. For how much? 28.7 million, I said. Plus bonuses. Closer to 40 now. She set her coffee down and covered her face with her hands. All this time, she whispered, while Dad was offering you dealership jobs. I wasn't trying to prove anyone wrong, I said. I was trying to help without making it about me. She looked at me with something I hadn't seen in years. Respect. You always were quiet, she said, smiling through tears. But damn, Logan. Over the next few weeks, Rachel became my silent partner. She didn't announce anything, didn't let it slip, but she helped plant seeds, carefully, gently. She shared articles about blockchain innovations with our parents, left a few open on the kitchen tablet. She casually asked Vince to explain what cryptocurrency was at dinner one night, just to prompt a conversation. I stayed quiet unless asked, but when I did speak, I chose my words carefully. Simple, thoughtful, clear. I didn't sound like a genius. I sounded like someone who gave a damn. We even arranged a family financial planning session, disguised as a meeting to talk about the future of Grandpa's farm. I brought in a neutral financial advisor, someone who could speak broadly about trusts, grants, and long-term asset security. Mom nodded a lot. Dad frowned but didn't interrupt. Vince sat with arms crossed but didn't leave the room. Something was shifting. Then Rachel brought me the opportunity that changed everything. Emma's middle school was hosting a career day. They were short a speaker. You should do it, she said. No one wants to hear from a guy who used to live above a bookstore. I replied. That's exactly why they should. So I agreed, quietly, nervously. Career Day landed exactly 6 months after I signed the acquisition deal. When I walked into the school, I was surprised to see my parents sitting in the back, next to Rachel and Vince. Emma beamed from the front row. I kept my speech simple. 6 years ago, I began, I dropped out of college to build something no one in my family understood. They thought I was wasting my time. And maybe I was. I didn't have much to show for it for a long time. A few people chuckled. Even my dad cracked a grin. I was building a blockchain protocol, basically a better way to send money without banks. And last year, a company bought it. For a lot. I paused, letting it sink in. 28.7 million. Silence. I looked at my dad. His jaw had gone slack. My mom had her hand over her mouth. Vince looked like he'd seen a ghost. But here's the part that matters, I said. Success doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes it's in jeans and an old hoodie. Sometimes it looks like someone who skipped Thanksgiving to debug code. I ended by announcing a grant, funded in my name, for the school to build a computer lab and offer free coding classes to every student. When I stepped off stage, Emma hugged me so hard I nearly lost my balance. And for the first time in my life, I saw pride in my father's eyes. Pyeonachun, so. 2 weeks after career day, I helped my parents move into their new home. It wasn't extravagant, just a clean, comfortable house on a quiet cul-de-sac with no stairs to aggravate my dad's knee and a garden my mom could finally tend to. The deed was signed under the family trust, but this time, they knew, and they accepted. As we unpacked boxes in the garage, my dad held an old tackle box and stared at it for a long time. "I still don't really understand what it is you built," he said, glancing at me. I smiled. "You don't have to." He set the box down, cleared his throat. "But I should have tried harder to understand you. Back when it mattered. You couldn't have known, Dad." "No," he said quietly, "but I could have trusted you more." That moment said more than any apology ever could. Later that evening, the whole family gathered on the back patio for dinner. Vince was animated, talking about the coding classes he'd signed up for at night school. "Never too late to learn something new," he said, grinning. Rachel had quit her high-stress accounting job and launched her own consulting firm, now helping other families plan financially. Seed money, courtesy of the trust. Emma sat beside my mom, showing her how to check cryptocurrency prices on a smartphone. "That one's Ethereum, Grandma. It's kind of like a digital savings account." My mom laughed, eyes sparkling. "Should I buy some?" Across the table, my dad was watching me. He didn't say much that evening, but his silence felt different now, no longer heavy with doubt, but filled with reflection. As twilight settled over the neighborhood, I stepped away from the noise, walking to the edge of the yard. The breeze was soft. The house glowed behind me, full of life and laughter. My phone buzzed, an email from a firm in Austin offering triple my current consulting rate. I read it, smiled, and put the phone back in my pocket. It could wait until tomorrow. A moment later, my dad walked over and joined me. "Beautiful night," he said. I nodded. "Feels like everything's finally settled." He looked at me, his expression softer than I'd ever seen it. "Your grandfather would have been proud of you. Not for the money," he added, "for the perseverance, the way you stuck with it." I swallowed hard. "I learned that from you." He reached out and put a hand on my shoulder. It was a simple gesture, but after everything we'd been through, it felt like a beginning. "Come on back," he said, nodding toward the table. "Your mom's still trying to figure out which coin to buy next." And for the first time in a long time, I followed, knowing I wasn't walking alone anymore.